#1 since 1998 on television, ESPN Radio, and the World Wide Web. This is the Pro Wrestling Report with your hosts, the man they call Meathead, Frank Cosentino, and Damian Nelson. Professional wrestling news, opinion, and information from fans for fans.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. Yet another edition as we attempt to clean out our email inboxes.
Yet
Thank you very much for sending us all of those emails at PWRshow.com. And let's get now, Meathead, to the ones that we have selected for today. And the first comes from St. Catharines in Ontario, Canada. Sean Murrell sends this in. He says, great show. I've been a loyal listener now for a few months and enjoy your interactive approach to wrestling news. Thank you very much for that. We do it for you. And this is intriguing me, Meathead, so pay attention closely. I own a DVR, and I know that a lot has been discussed on how this war is not the same as the one with WCW. Though we do have DVRs now and can fast forward through commercials, boring matches, etc., regardless, the wrestling viewers still have a choice, and the war is now prompting me to make those choices. Case in point, I've not watched SmackDown for the last 2 weeks. It's normally a solid show, but Raw is live and has always been a tradition, whereas Friday Night Wrestling is the furthest thing from my mind. Not to mention the fact that with TNA on Thursdays, it's a bit of overkill for me. ECW being a 1-hour show was easier to digest, but it was still a choice. The war is actually more crucial now than ever. The people have much more power, and the so-called casual audience, due to the information age, is much smarter than it once was. What used to be reserved for the dirt sheets is now a click away in one tweet, search, etc. So WWE can't let their guard down, and TNA can't just limp on Hogan and other name power alone like before. I, like many others, have only so much time in a day, and with the saturation of way too many pay-per-views, I have even more choices. In order to get my attention and others, they're going to have to do something, or people won't buy the pay-per-views and simply delete them off their DVR if they have better things to do. It is indeed an exciting time once again. I just hope they have what it takes to deliver. Tremendously written email by Sean Murrell from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, about the new factors in the Monday Night War between WWE and TNA.
I'm not attacking your email, but for example, DVRs were readily available during the...
Oh, God, no, they weren't.
Yes, they were.
No,
I had one in
don't
'98.
Okay, but people had VCRs when they first came out, but it took how many years for them to actually be
I
in
got
every
you.
household?
They're more familiar now. They're more prevalent
It's a
now.
substantially different factor, especially since there's a rating attached to DVR numbers and recordings.
At that point, I actually was a Nielsen household. Okay. So it didn't change the way I watched, though. When I watched wrestling, I would watch WCW live first, flip over to WWF when it was on commercial break, and then choose to watch it later. Also, WCW Nitro, and I'm not using this as an excuse, I'm not leaning on it like leaning on Hogan, for TNA. WCW Nitro was replayed every Monday night. It was on at 11 o'clock.
There was a time where it wasn't, actually.
It was
For the most part, it was, but there was a period where it was not replayed.
Okay. So, I think that you're right. There's a lot more stuff going on. Matter of fact, at that point, the internet wasn't, again, as prevalent as it is today. There was no tweeting. There was no Facebook. There was just, certain websites that might have had, information lines, kind of news lines, whatever you want to call them, news boards.
Even Mean Gene. Call me now, 1-900-909-9900, too hot for TV.
So it's going to be a lot harder for them to attract the casual viewer to get in, because the casual viewer has so many different things coming at them right now. We're talking about in the house, out of the house, the internet. To be honest, the entertainment business is losing it a little bit too, because the internet now has your Hulus and, all those other things where you can watch TV. And, you've got different, content providers coming at you from everywhere. So I digress. You're right. TNA really has to step up their game, and they can't just rely on Hulk Hogan to bring in that viewer that used to watch WCW. TNA as a company needs to do something innovative. Unfortunately, they got rid of the six-sided ring. Something that kept them unique, in my opinion, would have been something that could have drew in the next person. Now, when you're having a war with another company, there's been a panelist on here, and I believe it was Frank that might have said it. And again, this isn't against Frank, but Frank said, when you're having a war against a company, try to make yourself look just like that company. completely 100% disagree. Make yourself stand out separate from that company.
What's the difference between Coke and Pepsi?
One's a red can, one's a blue can.
It's essentially the same product, though, yet. What's the difference between Coke, Pepsi, and RC Cola?
I have no idea.
Tremendous sales numbers.
I don't drink any of those. Cola is disgusting.
To Sean's point, and to the point being made here, WWE needs to do much more as well, and they can't let their guard down. Those factors are there, but to be honest with you, the Super Bowl of this year was the most watched television program of all time, beating out MASH. People said no show would ever beat MASH. This year's Super Bowl did.
Not only that, adding in all the factors that you have now in the 21st century.
So if you give a reason, if you give a compelling enough story for people to watch, the viewers will make time to come. I think your point's tremendously valid, though, about traditional wrestling nights. Thursday's not a traditional wrestling night, even though SmackDown was on that night for a number of years.
Thunder was on that show. I mean,
Friday is not a night you think about wrestling. Tuesday's not a night you think about wrestling. Monday night is the night for wrestling, and that's going to help TNA right then and there, because even if it's flippers between segments, they're going to capture some of that audience that already exists. Sean, I think this was a tremendous email. Thank you very much.
And by the way,
that in.
Not only is Monday night a traditional night for wrestling, Monday night's a traditional night for the male demographic, of the 18 to 34 demographic, who may have gotten tired of the football or may have gotten tired of whatever sporting events that's going on. That's where they went over to wrestling. So you're right on the head there.
Let's go now over to Ireland. Liam sends this in. He says, for many years, some fans have considered WWE racist. From Crime Time's gimmick to Chavo Guerrero's Kerwin White persona, you can see where angry fans can make an argument. During WWE's history, very few wrestlers who were neither white nor North American have achieved great success. However, with a Scottish Intercontinental Champion in Drew McIntyre and a fellow Irishman in Sheamus being a former WWE champion, is this claim still valid? Liam, I think that there are a lot of people who see a lot of things that may or may not be true out there. It's a matter of personal interpretation, in my opinion, as to what people take off. And I would not fault WWE as much as I would fault entertainment in general. From show to show, from network to network, you find stereotypes personified, and you find sometimes they're glorified.
By the way, it's the term, you're right on. I mean, you feel that it's there, but racist isn't the right term. It's being stereotyping. It's stereotyping, putting out a stereotype of this, a stereotype of that. Kerwin Hart White obviously was a stereotype. I mean, when they did the Nation of Domination, that was supposed to be a stereotype of this group. And, all those, that's what wrestling is. It's a play, and that's what entertainment is. I mean, you go to your movies, you go to your plays, you go to your, any sort of entertainment facility, and play on stereotypes.
Liam, thank you very much for that email from Ireland. Let's go to Philadelphia and talk to Eric Russo, who sends us in.
Eric Russo.
This is in regards to Damien's comments on PWR Primetime of February 12th about what he thought of a Jericho Edge WrestleMania main event. This is the match that I have hoped for since Edge was injured. It seemed perfectly set up for a matchup at WrestleMania. Even though I do not think this feud needs to be for a championship, I have no doubt in my mind that these two great in-ring workers will put on an incredible match and steal the show. Jericho has been the top heel on both brands for the past year and is very deserving of headlining WrestleMania, as he always put on great matches. While I do respect your opinion, it really seemed as though you thought this match would not deliver at all and had no interest in seeing it. So my question for you is, if Edge has to be in the main event, would you rather see him wrestle that can deliver a better storyline and, more importantly, a better wrestling match than Chris Jericho? Thank you very much for that, Eric Russo from Philadelphia. What had happened is I said I just couldn't see those two headlining or main eventing WrestleMania. I couldn't see it. I had no interest in it. I still need a little bit of convincing that at WrestleMania they need to be on the main stage. And keep in mind, that's a huge difference for me. The main event at Backlash or the main event at Elimination Chamber or the main event at the Bash is a completely different situation from the main event at WrestleMania. And while I do not discount the abilities of both men, I will say that it takes a little bit of convincing to get me intrigued into this particular matchup. And I will also say that the Edge-Undertaker match at WrestleMania 24 was tremendous. So that shows Edge deserves to be in a main event at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Chris Jericho, last time he was in a main event at WrestleMania, wasn't as good because it was WrestleMania 18, I believe, and it was Rock Hogan.
I'm going to ride in right on top of that. And you're absolutely right. WrestleMania 24. And sitting next to you during the show, Edge is in the main event and headlining WrestleMania. Okay? We've said, I can't believe that's Edge out there working the main event of WrestleMania. Edge has earned a spot. Okay? Jericho was in the main event. Again, Rock Hogan, 19, WrestleMania 19. Is that something?
One of those. They tend to blend together after a while.
After a while. Jericho has earned his spot. Even though we haven't seen Jericho back in the main event in WrestleMania, it's Jericho's time now to be, you know.
That was Triple H's time.
It's my time! Here comes trouble! Can I go on a quick sidebar
Sure.
here? SmackDown tapings.
Did you notice when
here in
Chimmel
Milwaukee
was doing the SmackDown announcement, he said, and we'll be kicking off with SmackDown! SmackDown! They put an echo in.
Yeah, you did.
Stuff.
On a quick sidebar, I thought I had heard that song, It's My Time, by Triple H, on August 10th, 1999. I thought
you listen to me, you ungrateful little beep!
I thought I heard that song a lot in one taping, in one show, until I heard, awesome!
Well, I'm not sure.
7 times in one night.
He came to play. I'm not sure if you're aware.
7 times.
He's awesome.
I liked the song up until the 5th time, but for the love of all that is holy.
That song. That's his favorite on Volume 10.
For the love of all that is holy. 7 times, way too much.
I marked out every time because I am the.
There was a tweet out there too that said somebody threw underwear at one of the superstars. It was you throwing your underwear at the Miz, wasn't it? That's why you didn't get the picture.
I am civilized.
No, you're not. Anyways, we digress. Jericho, Edge, main event. It's their time.
Eric, thank you very much for that email from Philadelphia, PA.
Philadelphia.
And let's go to another email from Joseph Graves, who sends us in. He says, first of all, let me say I've been watching WWE since around 1984. My past favorite superstar was Chris Benoit, despite what happened in his last few days. However, my favorite for the last 10 years has been Matt Hardy. I was happy when he won the United States and ECW titles, so I have not been too happy since August, considering he has only won a handful of matches. While I understand that his lifelong dream was to be in the WWE, I feel he would have a better chance of getting used like he deserves if he went to TNA. What are your thoughts on him? And also, do you know why they will not give him the push that he deserves? Thank you for that, Joseph Graves.
Well, we can't really
from Canada
speak on if he deserves it or not deserves it. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the scene, behind the curtain. Maybe Matt's just... there was a time when a certain wrestler by the name of Triple H took the punishment for his friends leaving and going to WCW.
That was a great match with him and Aldo at King of the Ring 96.
Maybe Matt Hardy's taken the brunt of the punishment for his brother doing what he did to the WWE.
Would Matt Hardy be better served in TNA? Probably. But I'm not sure what Matt Hardy's intentions are, and I would imagine that some of the actions of his brother and his brother's signing with TNA or his appearance with TNA, unfortunately, probably has a negative influence on WWE's presentation of Matt Hardy. So, Thank you very much for that email. Let's go to our final email of the day, which comes from Mark over in the UK. He says, when I first found out Bret Hart was returning to WWE, my immediate reaction was, this is a great way to put the Hart Dynasty over and get them involved in a storyline. For one reason or another, this has not happened, and they haven't been mentioned. Why is this, in your opinion, is this a bad move by the WWE?
I believe we spoke on it yesterday, or was it the day before?
Recently.
Okay. We don't get it either. Again, we're not trying to profess that we know everything, that we're right and we're happy. We're just trying to tell you that we don't understand it. Just get the Hart Dynasty on TV. Let them get Uncle Brett a coffee or something. I don't know. Here's your coffee, Mr. McMahon.
It's too hot.
You're not going to sue him with Jackie Childs, are you?
Thank you for those emails, and we want to remind you can pick up the Pro Wrestling Report iTunes application in the iTunes Store. Go and get exclusive content for the Pro Wrestling Report and also interact with us in ways that no others can.
No others legally can.
Application. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter. All the hot news comes from the Pro Wrestling Report on Twitter. and our Twitter username is PWR Show. And until the next time, we will see you right here on PWRshow.com and the Pro Wrestling Report television and radio. Thanks for tuning in.